I'm about to get canceled. I know. But let's get to this album, all right? Megan Thee Stallion is a household name by this point. If you don't know who she is, you've been living under a rock, whether it's from her Savage remix with Beyonce, her wet-ass P-word with Cardi B, or even the Tory Lanez incident back in July. You know Megan Thee Stallion for something that's happened in 2020, guaranteed. Even with the extra buzz that she may have gathered from the XXL Cypher performance and the XXL freestyle from back in 2019, her Tina Snow record, her Fever mixtape that I thought was great, you'd expect her debut album to just build on top of all the hype. But I'm failing to see that. The album opens up with Shots Fired, and I'm not mad at this opening because it directs its anger and it directs its attention to Tory Lanez, an artist who made an entire record about the incident back in July. Though he doesn't technically say anything about it, he makes an album around it. And this is Megan's response to that with one song telling the world what he basically did to keep her and her friend quiet. I just found it to be an awkward fit over the Who Shot Ya instrumental, despite the fact that, yeah, it's kind of funny and tongue-in-cheek to use a sample like that and directed at Tory Lanez. I expected so much more from her on a track like this. You know, this isn't just some average beat. You gotta really go crazy, go off, and I just felt like she didn't give us anything more to chew off of on this intro than her Twitter followers would have in her defense when Tory Lanez was found to be charged. Despite that, I still enjoy the song, but listening to it with the Biggie sample in mind, I just completely lose interest. The next track, though, I really enjoy, called Circles. Beautiful Jasmine Sullivan sample looping in the background. I think that passion and delivery from Jasmine makes this song so ear-grabbing. Her flow on this track is great. I still think the idea behind it is great, delving into why she feels stupid, why she feels duped. The sample matches that idea perfectly, and she illustrates that idea even better. The next track on this album that I really like is Movie with Lil Durk. I love this beat. It's really intense and nocturnal. Lil Durk's flow on this is great. I love the hook on it. I love Megan's flow. I love her lines. It's an intense club banger with a pretty underwritten hook, but it is catchy, so I like it. I also think Do It on the Tip with City Girls is a great track that features Megan in her natural habitat. I mean, I think she does that style the best with a lot of confidence, a lot of braggadocio. I think those things kind of fit that style over that beat best, but I feel like I've heard her make this song before. One thing I'm happy about with this album is that the Tory controversy doesn't plague it or bog it down. One thing it doesn't have that I was hoping it had was some type of, you know, insight about Megan that we don't already know. An album centering around her maturity, her growth, or her challenges outside of the Tory incident. Deeper cuts that don't center around information that we already know. Songs about things other than her wet ass P-word. However, the more I listen to this album, the more I fail to understand what it's trying to accomplish or what it's about, what it's for, outside of continuously latching on to her sex appeal, camouflaging the artist behind the mic as this one-dimensional club-hopping caricature. And to me, Megan is rapping kind of similar to how she used to when she was freestyling outside of her car, leaving a lot of these cuts like Crybaby, for example, devoid of any real sting because a lot of her performances feel so cut and paste. And this dry, stale, predictable delivery is even felt on cuts that are supposed to be more emotionally aware. The incredibly poppy Don't Rock Me to Sleep, which I could easily see a Kidz Bop rendition for, lacks any kind of passion or enthusiasm. This song is like being in a relationship with someone lacking the ability to make facial expressions when they laugh. And while I appreciate how considerate one would need to be to make music that features the artist singing and rapping, that shit ain't for everybody. When singing, Megan has the sensuality of a WNBA game with the vocal talent of a Tom and Jerry character. The hooks! Which Fever was full of are forgettable or boring at their best and painfully mind-numbing and rage-inducing at their worst. Body as a track without a hook, to me, it's fine. It actually showcases a lot of Megan's technical rap ability, but the hook is just so repetitive and so lazily written. The most memorable part about the track is how much I hate it. And at this point, I'm like, yo, Savage Remix is better than damn near every song on this album. Her delivery and her performances were so much more energetic and passionate, with more varied beats on a project like Fever. Beats that seem to be far more varied and far more adventurous than the beats on this album, in my opinion, that kind of just seemed like they were developed by a Megan Thee Stallion type beat generator. And no, I don't need Megan Thee Stallion on generic dancehall beats either. This album is so tightly clinging on to the persona that Megan Thee Stallion has developed over the past year that it forgets to remind us so often that she's a real person. So on its deepest level, the most that we learn about Megan Thee Stallion is that she's okay with being broken up with and she's a big girl. And I guess that's a condition that I'd be somewhat okay with on this album if it were performed with some amount of fervor, flamboyance, or any amount of spirit. The intensity of her persona was so clear on Fever, but it seems that Star is like a dying light on Good News. And it doesn't make me cringe when sex comes up as a topic for Megan Thee Stallion, but with how often it comes up, it makes me want to chop off my own genital. Like, bro, no one is this horny. But that's where you leave an album with no direction, just carelessly making songs about this, and that, and then they all end up kind of doing the same thing. We're at a point where the public persona and the personality and the likability of a Megan Thee Stallion isn't enough to carry interest in her music. And that's one of the biggest pitfalls of developing a lot of traction and buzz in a career pretty much off of single success. Because people know you for that content, and then when they dive into an album and it's pretty much the same thing, they got nothing more to go to you for. Generally, when an artist releases a hit record or a #1 single, they go to that person's music, their actual album, and they're like, wow, I got some more to chew off of. I got some more meat on these bones. But with Meg, it's pretty much, you saw the single, this is the album, it's an extended version. Savage Remix told us that Good News was going to be a 17-track album about Savage Remix. But I don't want to sit here all day telling you that this album is terrible or anything like that. It's not, you know, and I think Megan Thee Stallion does have a base level of talent that can get someone through a listen without them falling asleep or turning it off. But I don't see a reason why someone would play Good News when Fever exists. This album to me is just a much poppier version of Fever with less enthusiasm and less freshness. But that's just how I feel about this record. I think it's boring. There's nothing really to say about it. Just like I felt about that Sugar EP. Nothing to say about it. Thank you all for watching. And that's it. That's all I got to say, man. Let me know how you felt about it in the comments down below. And I'll see y'all next time, man. Peace.